Welcome to the Fly Podcast. 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 Yes, sir. I don't even have to say welcome to the Fly Podcast because we just said it in the song, which you just heard.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I'll say it anyway. Welcome to the Frontline Youth Podcast. I've been asked to elaborate what fly means because some listeners don't actually know. I didn't even think about that, but it's true. Welcome to the Frontline Youth Podcast, or FLY for short. I think I'm going to have to say that every episode, which is fine. I love elaborating because I want people to know what we are. I guess asking you guys now, the listeners, what did you even think about that song? Because the idea is, well, Elijah, what's the idea?
So every time we're thinking we could have a different intro, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on which guest is there. And so something about coming up with the song will involve the person that's there. So imagine we got Billy Bob on the episode. Hey, Billy Bob, what kind of music do you like?
And then I would say, well, my name is Billy Bob, so of course I like dubstep. So then,
okay,
and we'd make a dubstep song for
course.
Billy Bob. You know, welcome to the Fly Podcast. Welcome to the Fly Podcast. Anyway, look, it'll sound better. I promise it'll sound better. But the point is that every episode will be unique to whoever's on it. Unique to, the people that we're talking about it, maybe even unique to the subject matter, ? But, that's just an idea. I think you're going to hear a lot throughout this podcast. We're going to be asking for a lot of feedback.
Yes.
Because feedback, one, it's important so that we know what you guys want to hear when we're doing this podcast. But two, it keeps us motivated because we know people are listening. People care about what we do. People care about just, what happens in the Frontline Youth Fly Podcast. So, yeah. And I guess speaking of music, that is our first topic that we're going to go into. Christian music. And obviously you can see the title of this podcast. It's Is Christian Music Corny?
Question mark.
And I guess now we'll just answer that question personally. So, Elijah, is Christian music corny?
So always when we bring up Christian music, I gotta know what kind of music you're talking about. Like what genre?
Let's go with generic. Not generic, contemporary.
Contemporary, so like
In the Eye of the Storm.
Okay, yeah. So everybody knows, or not everybody, but many of you listening may know of the stereotype about contemporary Christian music, where what does it have, Isaiah? Where did they get the subject matter from?
Words that sound spiritual, and then a natural disaster.
Yes, so that's the formula. That A squared plus B squared equals is actually
Christian music,
right? So you take the blessed and glory, grace. All those words. That's the A. Holy.
No, that would be the B. And then the A would be the arson, the tornado, the flames, and
active
and
volcano.
You put that together and you get C squared, which is Christian music.
Yes. Pretty much.
That's the formula. And I guess
so active volcano plus blessed equals Christian music. Pretty much. That's a mathematical formula. And so what happens, though, is that they make all these songs, and usually it's just about going through some kind of hardship.
Right.
And that would be whatever crazy natural disaster. And it's literally mentioned as one through the waves and the storm, through the tornadoes and the winds and all that. And then, but then they talk about overcoming it through God's grace, blessing, glory, holy.
Right.
And so it really can sound the same. It blends together. And, on stations like, for those of you who are familiar with K-Love or his radio, they've been playing the same songs for like 10, 12 years.
Right.
And so it can get really repetitive, both in the subject matter, the wording, and I said both, and I'm saying three things: the subject matter, the wording, and the songs themselves.
Yeah. I guess for me, answering the question, is Christian music corny? for me personally, I do think it can be. And that's not to say that, you know, I don't appreciate Christian music or anything like that. It's just, I guess we have to go back to like the definition of Christian music, right? So like, for example, if you're making a song or something, typically it'll be talking about your life or talking about things that are happening to you. And I highly doubt that if you were doing that, honestly, it would come out formulaic. And so it makes me wonder personally, how can you have all these songs that sound almost identical and it be personal to you? Right. So then it becomes not only corny to me, but it's corny because it seems artificial, where it's like, it's hard to take you seriously when I don't really believe that you believe the words that you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the other genres where I've experienced that the most is, of course, is going to be Christian rap. And so,
of course,
because Christian rap is the one that I'm looking for some good in it. I'm listening to it. I don't really look, if the contemporary Christian music genre flops, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I will live. But it sucks for me that Christian rap usually, from my experiences, like I can't find too much good
right
that I would actually like to listen to. And it's because usually the subject matter is failing, or honestly, sometimes it's just the lack of numbers of artists making Christian music. You can't really pick and choose. You're going to be left with somebody with a certain sound, whether it's good or not.
Mm-hmm. And I think kind of tying into what I was talking about earlier, even in Christian hip hop, which we like personally, the same issues apply, where it's like, do you believe the things that you're saying? And then two, a lot of times, especially in Christian hip hop, the wording that they use is literally like copying, not even copying, like it's almost as if they're trying to be like whoever is popular in what I'm going to call secular music, which is just not Christian music, essentially. And it's like, you know, they're making a parody of secular music and replacing some of the words with the B part of the formula.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So instead of saying I'm rich and I got bank, it's I'm blessed and I got grace and I got
exactly. Instead of saying something like I got drip. Drip, for those who don't know, drip is like style. Drip is an outward showing of wealth.
If you're those that don't know, you just ain't got the drip.
If you don't know, you ain't dripping. Nah. It's like if I have a nice watch or a nice shoes or something, that would be drip.
Yeah. Just
for clarification. And in a lot of Christian music, it'll be like, I got the drip. You can see the holy water dripping or something. And it's like, there you go. That made it Christian. Check the box.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. That's not how that works.
Yeah, they're just in there. They get in the studio and just start talking. It's like, okay, what can I do? What can I say?
I know.
Try to sound cool.
They have their own formula, which we don't have a math for it, but we know the formula in wording, which is, what is everyone else doing that's not Christian? How do we make that sound vaguely Christian?
Yeah.
And then they do that. Like I don't know. Listen to a song. Here, on, watch this. Make a beat for me, Elijah. I saw some demons on the street, so I had to shoot them with the Bible. I'm preaching that revival. Look at my shoes, I'm dripping with holy water. I'm praising the Father. I got so much blessings. I almost said money, but it's blessings in this song because it's a Christian hip hop song, so it's different. Yeah. So it's like, there you go. Christian hip hop song done. And it's like, bro, that's not real.
Yeah.
That's not real at all. That's not, you're not.
I'm sorry. It was so ridiculous. I'm just imagining somebody listening through that and frowning.
Frowning.
Yeah. Just
like, yeah, I disapprove of this.
Yeah.
Or worse, somebody listening to it going, that was hard.
Oh.
What What a good song.
Hey, listen, if you have opinions, if you got thoughts,
Hey, yo.
leave them in the comments.
Put them in the comments.
That's okay. One thing we have to mention, this podcast is like no other we've done so far because there's others that we've done so far.
Yes.
And so we have the frame of reference to look at the first episode that dropped not too long ago. And there's some plays, they're coming in, slowly climbing and everything, but no comments on any platform.
None.
At this point in time of recording, I've not seen a single comment. And I know y'all have thoughts. I know y'all have suggestions. I've received some of them in DMs. Put them in the comments.
Put them in the comments.
Have conversations.
That's right.
You guys make us exist by interacting.
The podcast it doesn't do anything if no one's listening, and we can't tell if anyone's listening really if you don't have opinions afterwards.
Right.
And we want to hear from you, because if let's say we just keep making episodes and people are like, yeah, we didn't like that. You should have talked about this. How are we supposed to know?
Right.
Tell us.
We find out when the view count goes down.
Right.
Yeah. And not that it's about a view count or anything, but if we want to build something with the episodes that we're hosting, then it requires the interaction of the people listening.
Right.
Especially because, some of the people that are listening will be on here at some point. And what if they're like, oh, I didn't like the episode I was in because we didn't do such and such a thing that I wish we did, but I didn't say it in the comments.
Right.
Anyway.
Like, for example, at the beginning of this podcast, I said Frontline Youth Podcast because someone told me, hey, I don't know what fly means. What does fly? What is fly?
Right.
And I had to explain that to them. They didn't put it in the comments. They told me in DMs. Put it in the comments, y'all. Because if he put in the comments and then I responded in the comments, anyone who had that question could go and see it and see the answer.
Right. That's Yes.
So it's good to put that stuff in the comments. Please.
Pretty please. But yeah, so I noticed, like, I don't know about for contemporary Christian music. I haven't been able to watch the rise and fall. I don't know if there's ever been a point where it's good. Or okay, not like that, but
not good, but where it's been real people's emotions, real feelings, really praising God, and not just following a formula.
Yeah, I just can't remember a time when it was like that. Maybe it was before I was born, but ever since I was little, we've been hearing K-Love in the car. And you know how that goes. It just is what it is. They got some bangers on there, I won't lie. But overall, it's just not.
The eye of the storm.
No, not that one. But where I have been able to see that rise and fall.
Which one's the banger?
What is it?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me.
Fear!
It is a liar.
There is no way we have any listeners.
Take your breath.
If you're hearing this right now, no, you're not.
Stop you in your steps.
Is that really the words?
I don't.
Our studio audience says yes. Yes, those are the words. All right.
Yeah, that's the banger right there.
Okay, if that's your song, bro, I'm not knocking it.
Right.
Maybe I am. So, but where I have been able to see this kind of rise and fall is in the rap music, especially with just specific rappers. Like for example, for any new Christian, Lecrae is it. The old Lecrae music, he would talk about just his experience, knowing he needs to get saved, or even some longer down the road, his walk with God. He'll talk about feeling distant from God and just them real feelings, the connections. Like he has this one song called "Praying for You," and he's describing this dude oh man, I've been praying for this friend, and he said he isn't moved by any sermons. He says it just doesn't feel right like it used to, like when he first got saved. And then at the end of the song, he's like, well, the person I've been praying about is really me, and it was a cool little flip. They did a thing with it in the music video, but I know a lot of Christians can relate to that. It's like we may get used to praying for other folks for a long time and so-and-so is really struggling. But when you really struggling, it's hard to come to God about that. And that's a real thing. And so, but then years go on, I'm growing up, Lecrae's growing up. He's like 40 something now. And
I think he's 40 on the dot. In
his 40s, talking about holy whoa, I got a holy whoa, I'm tripping holy whoa. Or some years after that, he got, what's he got, Isaiah?
Oh. I know you're talking about Over the Top.
Yes,
bro.
Yes.
This man is talking about he got checks, and then he clarifies Nike checks. Over the Top.
Ain't no left.
So. I don't know the words.
But so what you said earlier about when the songs are formulaic or they aren't really that personal, it sucks when it's Christian music because you can't be sure that they really believe in what they're saying. And so although it's not our position to judge, Lecrae's not saved, I don't know what that brother doing.
Right, he could be saved, but in his music, he's not. People aren't going to get saved or want to go to church or want to change their lives from listening to anything that he's putting out now. Right.
But in his older music, I mean, that he has talent. Yes. He has talent, ability, and a lot of wisdom and understanding of things that people might forget about. But he was just skilled, you know. And that music is still out there, by the way, for you listeners.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out on YouTube
the
or
Rebel
something.
album.
Yeah.
Rebel! I'm a rebellion.
Anyway.
Yeah, bro. That's a track right there. That's it. That's one.
Billion.
That's a good song.
We just made it sound like some kind of weird country song.
No, that's how it sounded. Anyway, check out his older stuff if you really want to hear it. Check out his older stuff and then listen to his new stuff and get really involved in what we're saying. Because trust me, you will know exactly what we're talking about the moment you do that.
Yeah, some of you may have even heard of newer Lecrae, because I know he's more mainstream now. He's pretty big, I think.
Yeah, he has like a diamond song or something with
Andy Mineo.
No,
I
almost said Lauren Daigle.
Coming in hot.
That one song. Let's fight a little longer,
It's
my friend.
Tory
Lane.
No.
No. Tori Kelly. My fault.
Thank you. I was about to ask our studio audience because I forgot what her name was. Not that she's not memorable. I just was having a brain fart.
Tori Kelly.
Yeah.
So he's popular, and that's one of his newer songs. It's probably maybe his biggest song, or one of his biggest songs. But maybe a lot of you don't know some of his older catalog, so you think this is what Christian music or Christian hip hop is.
To be honest, that song was okay.
Yeah, but you know, it was like, this sounds like his older stuff.
Yeah,
you know, instead of this sounds like Lecrae.
Right. And then he has a song. I was thinking about how he's big, and I know he has a song that's in that Spider-Man movie. I think in the animated one. Maybe I'm tripping.
I think so. Yeah.
But
no, he has one in the game, in the Spider-Man game.
Yes.
The Miles Morales game.
Yeah. He has a song in there. He's big, is what I'm saying. He's
right.
all over the place, and so many people
2K.
may have. That's true too. So many people may have heard only what his new stuff sounds like and never even knew he used to be about it back in the day. People would be like, "Oh yeah, I know Christian rap. You know, it's okay." Nah, Christian rap can be fire. Right. Some of you, maybe you're listening and you like making music. Maybe it's hard. Maybe it's not. But I don't know. I don't know what your music sounds like. But for those of you who make Christian music and like you believe in what you're saying, keep doing that. Keep spreading your music around, because I'm not saying that Christian rap is bad. I think some of the best rap that I've heard is Christian rap, because you can't get more
real than that. You
can't
get more. I don't know. Like the lyrics can't mean as much as that, because you know that's literally it. Is if you're saved, I mean, you set for life,
right?
And afterlife. You know what I mean?
Thanks. Yeah. And so if you got some skills, whether you're a singer, and you like making worship music, or you like making rap music, you like making dubstep with lyrics in it.
Yeah, Christian dubstep.
I don't advise that, but
why not?
Unless you do. My bad. Actually, you know, I'm not being inclusive. Y'all forgive me. But no. But if you're making music, the only reason I'm quote unquote hating right now is because there aren't enough Christian rap artists. There are not that many people out there that are dependable, that I can listen and be like, oh, this dude's spitting facts.
Okay.
And so
you kind of jumping forward. Not jumping forward, but we actually did receive some questions for this podcast.
Yes. Some
things that people wanted to have covered in the podcast. And one of those things was, is there not enough Christian music? And I think, well, for us, for the Christian music we listen to, Christian hip hop, I think we just answered that. Yeah, there isn't.
Yeah.
You know, they're not, or if there is a lot, where are they? How do I find them? And all the ones I have found, why are they bad?
Okay, so maybe for those of you who make music, at your own risk, leave your leave your profile in the comments.
Your profile for sure. Don't
Yeah.
put a link, because I don't think YouTube lets you put links in the comments. And if you're on SoundCloud listening to this, I guess just say, hey, I make Christian music, and we can just click your name there.
Yeah.
Or if you put your music out somewhere else, I mean, you can put that too.
If you're not ready to be bold like that for everybody to see it, you can still send it maybe in a DM to like the Fly Podcast Instagram.
Right.
And we'll check you out for sure.
Yeah. Maybe we'll put you on.
I don't know if it's really that good, because I mean, we can't be on here just lying like, oh, I love this. If it ain't good, it just ain't, but at the same time, it might just not be somebody's cup of tea. But no, definitely we'll give it a listen regardless. We got friends that make music. My brother, who's talking to you right now.
Nope, I don't make any songs. Nope.
No. I'm not going to expose your profile or nothing. But like, we got a friend in Virginia that just sent him a track, and then he was messing around with it. And
yeah, you guys, who knows? You hear about that maybe.
Yeah,
that track's pretty good.
And so if you're making Christian music, bro, don't stop. Actually, stay motivated doing that. Keep being creative. Read your Bible. Pray about it. Because I think God can really reach people through music, especially if you go out. Sometimes, like, people won't listen to you if you go out in your street preaching and holding signs and yelling at them, but they'll listen to your song if it's heat.
Right.
So.
But also, God can really speak through music, but you can get spoken to through music by a lot of other things too. Things that can get you tripped up. If you don't, like if you're listening to music and the subject matter is not adequate. I don't know if it's talking about stuff that is sinning, one, or two, it's just wrongdoing and bad living.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's just what you listen to on the daily. That can reflect in your life. And that's one of the questions that we got for this podcast. Someone asked, why do teenagers, and I'm not a teenager, so I'm just changing it to, why do young people, and
maybe trying so hard to be young, yo.
Hey, why do young people revert back to secular music? And that's one of our questions. Elijah, why do you think young people revert back to secular music?
I think in at least one aspect, it ties into what we said before, that there's just not enough. There's not enough Christian music out there, and so somebody might they'll listen to the same few Christian songs over and over, and then they're like, wow, well, Lecrae hasn't dropped anything good in a few years, and I'm kind of tired of listening to the first two albums that he ever made, so I'm gonna slide over and listen to my 21 Savage, and I don't know. I don't know if 21 Savage would be your go-to after Lecrae, but what I'm saying is that once you run out of, it's like if you're eating one food every day and there's other food around, but the other food ain't good for you, you still probably are going to go for the other foods. Like if you are eating salad every day, but there's some good looking chicken right there. Yeah, bro, if there's some good looking chicken right there to your left, one of these days you go eat the chicken. And so I think Christian youth will go back to secular music just because they may be tired of hearing the same stuff over and over again, and there's just not enough content for there to be variety.
Okay. I guess that goes back to what we're saying. Is there enough? And no, there isn't. So then you'll want to go back to, well, I like the way this sounds, but no one who makes Christian music makes this sound. Yeah. So I'll go listen to someone else. And it's
more incentive for those of you who make Christian music. Do it.
For real. I think we have one more question about this topic in particular. And it's why, or no, not why. Who are some rappers that used to be good, but have fallen off the wagon a little bit?
Okay, so I mean, Lecrae always gets this.
Hey, bro.
My debate, he always gets
on purpose, justifiably.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that you can think of? Anybody maybe that the listeners haven't thought of?
Who has fallen off?
Or that I haven't thought of?
The Truth. I have that on here actually in one of my notes
Yeah.
because I was thinking about The Truth. He has this one album, and I can't remember what it's called. I know it by the picture, the album art. I don't know the title of the album, but it's
You talking about the one with him in front of the subway?
yes.
Who is that making that noise?
That is the greatest album ever. That is if you want Christian music, that is the best Christian hip hop ever. I'm so serious. Elijah was just saying, who is that making that noise?
Yeah, it's us again.
Ooh.
The one that's joining his pain and suffering.
Oh.
Yeah, that song is cool.
Yeah,
The
who's
rest of the
that
songs
making
on
that
that
noise?
album are
The
cool.
Christians. It's us. We making that noise. Let it know. Hey, bruh. We living it right. And you can too. Join us. But now, The Truth makes sappy whack songs.
I actually haven't heard any of his new
They
stuff.
are not even remotely as good. And it's like, how have you done this? The Truth. What happened? And you know what happened? I'm not going to say that. I was going to say he got old. But I'm getting old.
Okay.
So, no, that's not right. No.
Okay.
It's something else.
Wow. Y'all hear this?
Hey,
Can you believe this guy?
I got it.
I can't.
I got to think about myself when I think about this because then people are going to say, you're getting old. So,
Hey,
what, are you getting whackered?
if you believe it, comment it.
Stop.
Leave it in
Don't put that in the comments. You're kind getting deleted.
Oh, yeah, that is actually a thing.
No, we're not going to do that. But I do think that over time, he lost some of the passion that he had. Or just his music is not as inspiring or exciting as it used to be. And it's like unfortunate. Like his old stuff is still there, so I can still listen to it, and I still do.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I want more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it at? And instead he's making that he's making that
I don't even know what you mean. I gotta listen to some after this is
No,
over.
you don't.
Okay, all right. Well,
It sucks.
I guess there's your point. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of fall from grace,
Yeah.
falling from grace when you're looking at these artists.
You want to go to the next topic now, or did you have an artist that you thought had fallen off?
So I'm really not too sure about this one, but I think NF.
NF.
Honestly, yeah, because look.
NF.
Hear me out. Y'all, Isaiah is the biggest NF hater. I'm not his biggest
NF
fan,
is so
but Isaiah is a hater.
so trash.
Sure, bro.
The worst. I will never. Can you think about this, Elijah?
Okay.
We're going on a road trip to Men's D. We're going to Men's D. We're carpooling, right? We all get in the church van, right? We're sitting down. Maybe Dad's driving or Pastor Deontay's driving. I'm sitting passenger, and I'm like, "Hey, Pastor Deontay, where's the aux at? I want to play that NF."
And he hides it from you.
Exactly. He's not gonna say, "Yeah, let's listen to NF on the car ride," because he sucks. Sorry, if you like NF in the comments,
Nate, and I'm talking to you,
okay.
and I'm really trying to. Yeah, a lot of his music does kind of get.
Bro, NF, no. I've never thought of NF as a Christian rapper ever.
So
I've always thought of NF as a bad rapper.
At the beginning of his career, when he's first getting bigger and he's getting interviews and stuff, he said, "Yeah, guys, well, I don't want to be called necessarily a Christian rapper. I am a Christian that's a rapper." You know, and so I was kind of on edge about that because I didn't really know what he meant at first. But I mean, he's not rapping about crazy stuff, and most of the time he would be talking about his life and things that meant something to him, like that one song about his mom. That song is deep.
I can respect that song. I won't hate on that song. I don't like the song, but
Yeah.
I like it. You know, I can respect the subject matter.
I got you. But then as time went on, I think he got first of all, he got really big. He's known by a billion people. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. It doesn't matter if you've never heard that NF is Christian, which is a thing that's possible, which is iffy. But
I got you.
Like nowadays he'll make music that I think he's just trying to put on this big persona, like, oh, I'm angry and dark and
Trash.
Okay. Well, the shadows in my head, they just, and so it's questionable the message now that might give to somebody, because they listen to that song and they're like, oh, so this dude's a Christian. His life sucks. This dude, he has never had peace in his mind.
I know. And then, I don't know, he opens it up to mocking. That just reminded me of this TikTok I saw.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Also, that's another reason you might get reverted back to secular music. You listening to all them TikTok songs. You thought I was feeling you?
Stop, my goodness.
Stop.
Bro, for those of you who just finished the line, what you doing, bro?
Right. No, I'm playing. But anyway, I saw this TikTok video, and it was this guy sitting in his car looking into the camera, pretending like the camera is you, right?
Oh, no.
And he's looking at you all awkward, and he's like, POV, you gave the aux to the awkward homeschooled Christian kid who's listening to his edgy music.
Oh, man.
And guess what was playing? You thought it was that NF.
And I've been talking to you. You're not listening to me, and you just won't let me through.
And I was like, come on now. Like, why does this have to be the image of us?
Is the
I'm
NF impression on point? Leave it in
I'm Christian.
Leave it in the comments. Anyway,
well, I wasn't homeschooled my whole scholastic career. I was homeschooled for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I never went through an NFAs, and I never will ever. He sucks. But why it's like it's easily mocked.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And I mean, I think people are gonna mock music either way.
It's
music
true.
is very subjective. Some of you may have had your feelings hurt when we said certain things about certain kinds of music, but I mean,
in the eye of the storm.
It's our opinion, so we're the ones talking, but I mean, you might have another opinion, and your opinion on that subject is really just as valid as mine, because there's no basis except for the fact that I like it or I don't like it.
Facts.
So, like what you like, I mean.
Man, I really want to hit that song again. Fear is a liar.
So anyway, I wanted to talk about.
You can take your. All right.
I wanted to talk about the sermon from Sunday night.
Last Sunday night, or maybe 2 Sunday nights ago.
You mean as at the point of this dropping?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, sure. So I think it would be
2 Sunday nights ago.
Sure. All right.
Disqualified is the title, so if we're wrong, that's the name of it.
By the way, this fly thing is based in Victory Chapel, Spring Lake, North Carolina.
So check out their YouTube channel. We might put a link in the comments of this one so that you can go. And because there are sermons on there, there are events on there, I think that's it, but that's enough. That's all you need.
Yeah. But I know we might spend a little bit of time talking about sermons, depending on what's in them. If it gave us something to think about like that, we might end up talking about it in a lot of podcasts. And so it's a different message every time. So yeah, if you want to listen, like if you hear us referencing a sermon, for example, today we're talking about Disqualified, that came out at the time of recording, it's this past Sunday. If you're like, oh, what did he mean by that? You can go check out that sermon and listen to it for yourself. I think there's some nuggets of gold all around throughout the channel. But anyway, so talking about this sermon, right? Because I was listening to it, and this is what stuck out to me. And when I knew that we were going to be talking about music in this podcast, like when we recorded this episode, I was thinking about Lecrae. I'm thinking about all these different artists that kind of dropped off in the things that they're talking about. And I remember that Pastor Scott, while he was preaching, he was talking about how some people disqualify themselves because they've lost the desire to serve. So they disqualify themselves from being in the will of God, or disqualify themselves from, like operating in obedience to God, just because they don't want to serve anymore. It's not about what can I do for the kingdom? What can I do for souls to get saved? It's about maybe what can I do for me, or what's easy for me to do? What can I get praise for?
Right. And I think that's dangerous. I say that a lot. That's dangerous. But it is. It's facts. It's dangerous to put yourself in the position of praise for for your ministry. Like your ministry is praise to God. You're praising God in your ministry. And if you start to make it about you, you messing up.
That's true. That's literally what Satan does in the Bible. He's like, that's why he gets cast out of heaven, is because it wasn't about serving God and helping out the people he's with. After a while, it became about, oh, I sound good. My goodness. Y'all need to be praising me. Who is this God you're talking about? You know what I'm saying? And then he ended up flopped.
Yeah.
And there's a whole sect of people who believe in what's called Satanism. And you think that it's like, that's a bunch of people who play with upside down crosses and they wear hoods and set fires. But
right. We light candles, do human sacrifices and all that.
But the ideology is to be or think like Satan does. Like, oh, well, I am my own God, and I'm the one, everything I have is because I got it. I'm the one who deserves credit. I think I'm worthy of praise because of my own being, who I am on the inside.
So maybe you could take a look at your own life, listener, and go, I'm kind of thinking like a Satanist right now.
I mean, that's a crazy way to put it, but
it's true.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. That is true. All of us can get that way. Honestly, hold on.
It's true.
For the listeners, he just gave me a crazy look. What I mean by that, though, is that if we're not checking constantly to make sure our eyes are still on God, we might start feeling ourselves in what we're doing, and then we lose all power and anointing from God, because God is not with that, and you will find out pretty soon when your ministry loses strength, like some of these rappers did.
Yeah.
This guy, bro, I'm telling them. So this guy, Isaiah, just put the microphone to his forehead, looked me in the eyes and said, "Let my mind speak." What is going on?
I'm speaking from my mind. Hey, y'all weren't supposed to know about that. That's why I did it quietly.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I thought I would expose him.
I think another aspect of the whole concept of disqualification is where in your own brain you like you haven't necessarily done anything, but you count yourself out, or you're like, let's say, for example, we want to do this podcast, right?
Right.
And then I don't know, Elijah said something like, well, I don't know, I think my voice is kind of annoying over the mic. Probably. People
Don't
probably
leave
wouldn't.
that in the comments.
People probably won't like the way my voice sounds.
Yeah.
And it is like, you have already, like, that's a simple example, but in doing that, he has told himself that he can't be effective in a ministry. And that can happen all over the place, where you're like, well, actually, I'm not good at this, or I can't do that. So, well, or I probably wouldn't be, and you don't know, but it's like you disqualify yourself.
Yeah. And then disqualifying yourself, like within your mind, that's sometimes can be, I'm going to use your word, it can be very dangerous, because sometimes
dangerous.
God could be calling you to do something, and like you really, like, that it's God, and then but you don't do it because, oh, I ain't the one. And so when we were talking about this before, you gave an example from the Bible, and I want you to tell the listeners about this example.
Yes. My example was Moses, God said, hey, I need you to go to Pharaoh and tell him what's up.
Let my people go.
You feel me? Get those Hebrews out of your slavery possession.
Let my people go.
Stop, bro. And what did Moses say? Moses said in the Bible, he said, I'm not very good at public speaking, God. I don't think I could. I'm not good with my words. Mm-hmm. What did God say? Now, first of all, before that, something to highlight here. At least he's telling God his issues. He's bringing them to God and saying, God, I don't think I can do this because of X, Y, Z. And God didn't ignore him. God said, okay, I'll work with you. You know, you are who I called, but I can give you a helper. And that was his bro, Aaron. And Aaron helped him out. Aaron was better at speaking, I guess. So he let Aaron speak for him. In a lot of cases, I think when you like read more in the Bible, like even in that, I think did Moses like go mute? Like he didn't say any words at all?
I think he was not talking during when they went to meet with Pharaoh for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty quiet. He was just sitting there letting Aaron do the talking.
But the reason I brought that story up is because he had disqualified himself. But since he brought it to God, God gave him the assistance that he needed. And if you disqualify yourself and then you make God's decision for you, like you say, yeah, no, I wouldn't be good in this ministry. So I'm deciding that I'm not going to do it after you've been called to do it. Guess what? That's, everyone say it with me, dangerous. That's okay. Right. That's dangerous.
Yeah. And I mean, on the other hand of that, going back to Satanism, don't just because maybe you've been around for a little bit or you know a thing or two. Satanism. Or you got some talents or something, like don't be like, oh yeah, so this must be God calling me to do this specific thing and everybody else needs to get out the way because I'm the guy. And like don't overqualify yourself, because when God calls you to do something, it's not only because you're a superhero, but the thing that makes you qualified in the first place is your capacity to be obedient to God and your desire to serve God and seek his will for yourself and for his people. And so if that ain't there from the jump, then don't go around saying God's calling me to do this and that. That's dangerous. Oh Lord, I didn't even mean to do it.
That's what dangerous.
Okay, but if you're not the most confident, it's not about how confident you are. If you're willing to do what God wants you to do, he'll make a way. Like for Moses was like, yo, God, I'm scared. I can't really talk to these people. I don't got skills like that. God's like, all right. And he made a way, and Moses ended up being able to lead all them people. They needed him. They relied on him, and he led them. But he was obedient to God, and God, gave him whatever assistance that he needed. So God won't call you to do something that you can't do. If you're obedient to God, he will make that way for you.
Right. And so, don't let your own opinions or feelings of illegitimacy or I guess your self-doubts affect the way that you think you can serve God. And that would be you disqualifying yourself. Now, I don't think Pastor Deontay talked about this in the sermon, but I do want to talk about it. Okay. You can be disqualified. And this, I almost said this is controversial. It's not. You can definitely be wrong and then not be fit for ministry. And it's unfortunate when those things happen, but it's a reality. And I would be amiss, I think I'm using that correctly, if I were to not mention it. So when you are in a ministry, it's upon you to obviously stay saved, right? Or to not, I don't know what that sound was, if you guys heard that. If you didn't, Easter egg. To not, I forgot what I was saying.
It's to stay saved?
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Stay saved, and you're not disqualified from your ministry. But as difficult, well, I don't know if this is completely incorrect, but like when you're in ministry, I do feel that you will be held to a higher standard, because not only you have to worry about your own salvation. I mean, that's everybody, but now your actions are in the public eye necessarily. Like people can get led astray by the things that you do, or can kind of get messed up by seeing someone that they might have respected in a ministry not stay saved or not continue living correctly for God.
Right.
And that's not to say that, once you do something wrong, might as well pack it up and leave because you ruined everything for the church. How could you? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, in your mind already, if you're in a ministry, you should just have that understanding that it's more than just you. It's about more than just you.
Yeah, if you're in a ministry that people see, like, obviously it ain't about people seeing you. The core of what you're doing isn't for the people to see you, but it has a bigger impact on people than you think. So, for example, like in our churches, we do something called outreach, where typically on a Saturday, a bunch of the people from the church, just random people who are saved, will just go out, whether we're knocking on doors or just talking to random people in the public somewhere. We just try to share the message of Jesus Christ with them. Maybe give some stories of our own walk with God that may relate to people. But, just trying to bring people like to the idea of God, open that little door for them to start looking at God maybe in a new way, invite them to the church if they want to come. If they don't want to come to the church, invite them to the house or something,
invite them to a fellowship. Something.
Right. And so just earlier I was on one of these outreaches and I was talking to somebody and he was telling me what he thinks about churches and like just his overall opinion on church and why he holds this opinion. What did you say?
I said chicken. Church is chicken. Sorry. I thought that was, what do you think about churches? Not crispy enough.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, this dude, he says, well, me and my wife, we don't really go to church like that because I remember I was going to this church for a long time and I really believed that God was doing something in my heart. He was changing me. And then, actually you can find it in the news talking about South Carolina, this and that church. The pastor and his wife ended up like stealing all the money from the treasury. And they went on some trip and like tried to change their names and everything and didn't come back. And so he was like, oh, for sure, God is not real because these people claim to believe in him. These people are trying to tell us who God is, and they're running off like that. And so, but I'm saying all that to say that if you're in a ministry where people's eyes are on you, especially if people are trusting you, like if you're a pastor or something, or if you're a Christian that somebody looks to for Christian things, if you want to, like before you go in and throw all that away, remember that it's not just your own salvation that you're placing in jeopardy. It's somebody else's opinion on God, somebody else's opinion on Christianity could totally be flopped because you decided you didn't want to uphold that standard anymore. And so it is that important that we, as people who are Christians and seen that way, that we uphold our relationship with God, that we don't go and just lose all self-control.
Right. And I think going off of that, something else that is treacherous.
Treacherous. Wow, he bringing out the Pirates Cove words. Treacherous.
Is that you can start to
sail the seven seas. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
You can start to do wrong, right? To live in sin. And instead of going, dang, I am doing something wrong, you will go and try to find that one verse in the Bible that you can interpret wrong so that you look right.
Yeah.
What is that called, Elijah?
False doctrine.
Yes, sir. I'm about to move in my chair.
All right. Y'all, for the listeners, he just moved in his chair.
And look up synonyms to dangerous. So I can stop saying it.
Read them out loud. Read them out loud.
Yeah, I'm gonna read them out loud, and then you guys will hear them, probably in the podcast. So
dangerous. Instead
of saying dangerous, I could say threatening, treacherous, vicious, menacious, very important, unhealthy, unsafe.
Okay.
Precarious.
Ooh, breakneck. Chancy. Dangersome. Loaded.
I'm going to start saying alarming, perilous, and precarious.
Some of these words are no.
No, that means like you can like instead of being impenetrable.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the words, by the way, is
nope.
All right.
Nope. We're not saying it. Nope. So false doctrine.
Oh my gosh, y'all help me. Yes. So you were saying some people may twist one thing that they hear in the Bible, trying to get it to comply with something that they're trying to do anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's false doctrine.
Right.
Per my definition. Yeah, we get a lot of people that are mixed up, I mean, from all different walks of life, that will just hear something in the Bible like we also talked about this before, and I gave the example of some people I've talked to at school who will hear what the Bible says about how like wives should submit to their husbands, like it used the word submit, and or that man was created in God's image, and they say, well, why man and not women, or why should wives submit to their husbands? You know, and I mean, people will abuse the wives submit to their husbands in the opposite direction,
right?
Saying that, oh yeah, so I can treat my wife any kind of way, and she better just submit to me. I can do what I want.
Nah,
I can spend all our money on Doritos. I could punch her in the face.
Why?
Yeah,
your two examples were Doritos and domestic abuse.
Bro, they both start with the dough. Anyway, anyway, but what I've heard people at school talking about is that they'll say like that God is sexist or misogynistic, and you know, and so then from there, I've heard some strange arguments like you're not believing in the right God because God is obviously a woman. Because listen here, no God in his right mind would like men. Men are trash, and women are superior. In reality, like God didn't say men are superior.
Have you ever heard the one where they say God is both? Like he's a man and a woman, depending on what makes more sense.
No, what?
Yeah.
No.
God the Mother?
You've told me about God the Mother. I didn't know there was something for. Go explain.
Okay.
Explain.
So I was walking home from. I was going to say walking home from school. I was walking home from class to go to my dorm, and this guy stops me. He's like, "Hey, we're inviting people out to a Bible study." And I'm like, "Ooh, Bible study? I like the Bible. Nice." Nice. So I'm like, "Sure, I'd love to. What's going on? And then,
Of course.
yes,
My favorite kind of conversation.
his next words were, "We're actually focusing on God the Mother." Bro, my brain went to automatic disrespect mode. I was like, "Bro, you are what?" But I'm not going to insult him. But it's like, no way. What do you mean? So I asked him, "What do you mean?" Maybe it would have made more sense to just leave. I don't know. I didn't want to leave. So he says, "Well, think about this.
Think about it, yo.
Read the Bible. Go into this verse. What does it say? God created man in his image." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." He's like, "Now, imagine. Obviously, man equals mankind."
Okay.
I'm like, "Sure.
Fair.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that." "And didn't God make man and woman?" "Yeah, he did." "So doesn't it correlate that God made man in his image and woman in his other image, the woman image?"
Oh.
So he's God the Mother and God the Father, depending? Doesn't that make
I
sense?
said, this is starting to make sense.
The first thing I told him was, no, that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? And he brings up all these verses, and it was so crazy to me because I know that he's slow. No.
Huh?
Stupid. Wrong.
No.
Incorrect. In his
track it backwards. Just scale it back a little bit.
I know that he's wrong.
Okay.
Incorrect.
All right.
Preaching that false.
That false.
Sorry. I use slow, but it just means wrong or slightly less smart. Not quick. No hate, you know. But I was like, there's no way. So and he's reading these verses, and I'm like, if I wasn't who I am, or I didn't know about the Bible like I do already, I can see how this could make sense to somebody who doesn't know. And that was frightening, because I was like, bruh, who has heard him before me?
Yeah.
That is like, maybe God does have a woman form. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a Bible study group. They showing up.
Yep. And then I realized it's like, what am I going to argue with him? Like, no, God doesn't have a woman form. What are you talking about? Like, you know, whatever. I decided to switch track and say, okay, what is the Great Commission? Elijah, what's the Great Commission?
I'm not gonna quote it right. Somebody in the audience can quote it better than me. But basically, is that we go out into all the world and preach the gospel to people, and let them know about God.
That's the whole Great Commission. So I said, that's a Great Commission. How is what you're doing serving that purpose?
That's a real question,
right? I'm like, you're telling people about there's a woman form of God. Awesome. Great. How does that get people saved? What are he going to say? He's going to explain it, right? He's going to tell me, well, actually, we think that you can't be saved unless, no, he's not going to say any of that. Because he knows. He's like, he's arguing a moot point, because he couldn't answer the question, is what I'm getting at. He could not tell me why it's important that God has a woman form or anything, because I knew. I'm like, what you're doing is confusing people into focusing on something that's not going to affect them into their salvation. It's not going to lead them to Christ. You haven't said anything about Jesus dying on the cross. That's like the most base. Everyone knows John 3:16, but you haven't said it one time. You've been telling me about all these random verses that prove some stupid point that makes no difference. It's like, what is your point? And his response was to say, I hope you hear it from someone else. Have a nice day. Trying to get rid of me. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I went home. And then I'm praying. I'm like, hey, Lord, make sure no one takes this guy seriously ever. And I hear from my friend later, my boy Luis, and he's like, oh man, I kind of felt bad. I saw that guy, but I didn't want to go to a Bible study. And he felt bad because I've been talking to him about that kind of stuff, and he was like, oh, I should have gone. But I was glad he didn't go, because that dude was messing up. I was like, I'm glad you didn't listen to anything he had to say. My prayer has been answered. Yeah. I'm like, bro, what?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I think he was trying to say I wasn't close enough to the mic.
Yeah, that man had his mic next to him. He was like, yep, that'll work.
Look, y'all don't know about the... I'm just talking.
Throwing his voice.
Yeah, I was gonna say something like that, and then I was like, bro, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but when like you said, when people have those strange kind of views, and then it seems like they can kind of back it up, like talking about, well, what do you think about he says mankind, and don't you if somebody's not ready to argue against that, then they can get completely mixed up with what he's saying.
For sure.
And something that is, I'm not going to say that word, something that is unhealthy, unsafe, perilous about that, hazardous, just catastrophic,
deadly, critical, alarming, precarious,
something
serious,
nasty,
terrible, treacherous. Did we say treacherous? Yeah.
Something malignant,
menacing,
ticklish. Something ticklish about that is that you could really take somebody who might have been saved. Maybe they're not that rooted, but they've made a decision in their hearts, like, I'm going to get right with God. I'm going to give my life to him because that's what I need to do. And now they've come in contact with the real God. They're on the track to live the life that God wants them to, and make it into heaven one day. And then just because some dude coming up to them on the street talking about some madness, now they're let off into some weird stuff that may have, like, honestly even just originated from somebody being offended or somebody having an opinion that was kind of confusing what God was saying.
Right.
And so now he's believing that just because of somebody being hurt about something that they read or whatever. And now this person's led away from living for God. Now they are believing in something else, and the real God might not even mean nothing to them.
Right. And it can cause them to, well, backslide.
Yeah, we don't have any notes, huh?
No, we do. We know. We got to keep it structured, or else it'll be like that first episode where we talk about whatever.
Right.
Some of that stuff we were saying in there, I'm so sorry.
I know. Yeah, we've done better on that a little bit. I've noticed, but also Isaiah knows this. My whole family knows this. My friends know this. I know I ramble. I be going into some strange. Y'all need to hold on for dear life while I'm speaking. Try to find something good out of it. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time on this podcast, so bear with me.
Right. But we were going to talk about backsliding and
Yes.
the concept as a whole, I guess. And I don't know. Like, it's easy for me to just say, don't do it. Don't backslide.
Yeah.
Next topic, but there's more to it than that.
What are some things that you think? Because, I mean, people don't wake up one day and they're like, all right, I hate God. You know,
right?
I love the devil. You know, like, hopefully nobody's waking up and doing that. So what kind of things, what kind of pressures or factors do you think might cause people to backslide, turn away from God?
Two of them are what I think are the main ones. The one is the one I probably see the most, which is relationship issues that they have with a partner or a spouse.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, they're having troubles. And I guess since they're together at church, it would be like they keep getting asked or something, what's going on between you two? And they're like, oh, we don't want to deal with that. So it makes more sense to just leave church and, become, put ourselves into a treacherous situation.
Okay, when we were joking a second ago, we used up too many of them words.
No, you can still use them.
Okay.
But then the other one is where you will be sinning,
okay.
Right?
Yeah, my bad.
And you like it, and you don't feel like listening to convictions. You don't want to, what is it called? Deny yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You don't want to deny self. You want to live how you want to live, and if you can't do that, then as a Christian, then might as well not be a Christian.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, those are my two main ones. The first one's a little the second one is definitely the one that you'll see most often, but the first one is like the one that you probably see second most often, and it's often a little sadder.
Yeah.
Because, they're going through stuff, but it's causing them to sin, causing them to lead lives of immorality,
Mm-hmm.
while the first one is kind of just selfish. So it's like, I don't feel bad for you, but I want you to get saved.
Yeah, I got you. And I
You
mean,
got me?
I got you. I always got you. If nobody got you, I got you. But like somebody backsliding, it isn't honestly that crazy of a subject. Like, even though it is very sad, it's tragic, and it's a hard thing to come back from.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically like you can kind of understand where somebody might have gone wrong.
Right.
And so, y'all, for those who are listening, if you've had thoughts about like, oh well, maybe it'd be more fun to go do this other thing instead of serving God, or maybe it'd be easier to stop coming to church and stop talking to these crazy church folks because my marriage is having problems and stuff like that. Like, you're not crazy for having had those thoughts. Everybody faces those kind of things. When you think about the story of the prodigal son in the Bible, there's probably some pretty cool stuff that he was trying to go do with all that inheritance money that he got from his dad. For those of you who don't know the story, basically there's this dude, he's raised in this really cool privileged home, He got money. He got family that loves him. They're there for him. But he was like, yo, Dad, shut up with what you're talking about right now.
Give me my inheritance.
Give it to me.
Give me my money. Put me in the will. Whatever you had in the will, give it to me right now.
Right. Don't wait to die. Give it to me right now. Put it in my hands.
Right.
And so the father's like, okay, go ahead, and he takes that money and he just runs out. He's going, all right, I'm gonna be with my friends. I'm gonna make some new friends. I'm gonna buy them things, and I'm gonna flex my new horse carriage. I was gonna say my new car, and I'm sure he was doing some things that were cool, some things that maybe for a few days it's like, oh, this is that life. I'm so glad I left my father's house, but then afterwards maybe he started realizing why it was better at home. And so I know people say this, oh, the church is a cult and blah blah blah. No. Nope. If you're there, unless you're somebody's child and they dragging you there, if you're there, you're there because you want to be.
Right.
And whether that be because you're so in love with God, or because maybe you're not and you want to be closer to God, or you want to be around that kind of people, or whatever, what I'm saying, you're there by your own choice. You can leave by your own choice at any time. And so the thing that keeps people in is not this brainwashing mindset, and it's not paying compensation fees. I hope what church you going to, but there's a reality that in living for God, like, yes, sin does have its pleasures, but there are deeper pleasures in living for God, and they're harder to attain. And so like Isaiah was talking about denying yourself a second ago. Like, people will be like, well, why would you deny yourself? I was actually talking to somebody from school in freshman year. They're like, what sense does it make to not do something if you feel like doing it? I feel like you're not going to be happy that way. And that's not true. Like, if I feel like robbing a store because I ain't got no money to pay for what I'm trying to get from the store, like, maybe I feel like robbing the store, but if I do it, does that make me happy, or does that just satisfy that short need for a second and then things get worse? You know what I'm saying? And it's like that way, except on a deeper level, because it involves your soul. It involves where you're going. It involves what your relationship with God can be like. And so, yeah, it is worth it to stay living for God. And I know, but I understand that sometimes it can be difficult to remember that. It can be difficult to keep your convictions when those other things on the outside start looking good. Yeah. And so it's okay. Just revisit the reason why you chose to serve God in the first place. Right. But another big reason I think people backslide is, like you mentioned earlier with Moses. He had some insecurities. He had some doubts and some questions. He's like, God, how do you expect me to do this when, but instead of going to God in that time, they think just to themselves. Well, how could God expect me to do it? I think God's crazy. Actually, I think God is and whatever. And I think I'm going to do this and do that because this and that makes sense. And so when you have doubts and questions like that, like, it's okay. It's natural. It's human to have them. But you refuse to bring that to God, maybe because you don't trust that God will have an adequate response for you. Then you're going to lead yourself down some other road of your own choosing. And so trusting in God is a real thing when it comes to continuing to live for him, because you will have questions, but you need to trust that you will get a response if you ask God about it.
Yeah. So, and something that Elijah said there that you might have missed. You didn't miss it, but you didn't really hear it. Ask God. You know what I mean? Like, man, I'm not sure. So go ask. Figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, don't just be thinking these things and be like, yeah, well, I don't know. I've been struggling with this, and I really don't feel like, I don't know. Whatever, bro. It's like, ask the person that can help you.
Like, for example, I've seen some people go through the ringer with, I've done such and such a thing, and it's like some sin that they see as grave and big and bad, and they think to God, but they don't go to God about it, and they're like, man, am I really forgiven for this thing that I've done? Because it's just so bad and I still feel guilty for it. So that means I'm probably not even saved, because I did this thing way back when, or I did this thing last week, and instead of going to, because God could meet with you. I mean, you talk to God about it, and it's like God might show you something while you're reading your Bible, like talking about his forgiveness for you or talking about his continuing love for you. But if you never go and seek that, then it's like you could convince yourself having a conversation with nobody. Oh, yeah, for sure. God does not love me. God will not forgive me for what I'm doing. So I just need to go back to what I used to be doing. So, yes, talk to God. Ask God.
Yep. Was there anything else on backsliding? I think there was, like, if we want to get personal, not personal, but, like, for me.
Yeah.
Like, something that you can start to do is you can just start to get lazy. So like you backsliding or you not being saved and living for God isn't even like an active thing that you're doing. It's more like passively you are starting to drop some of the things that you're supposed to be doing as a Christian, and some of the convictions that you did have. I guess I can explain convictions. Convictions is basically just your conscience, where you know you're doing something wrong, or you know that something that you're doing will lead you to doing something that it says not to do in the Bible. And instead of listening to those things, you're like, oh, well, it's small, so it'll be fine. And that can be another, I don't know if it's a different thing, like a different form of backsliding or something. It's still backsliding, but, maybe it's backsliding that you don't even notice, but that's also another thing.
Yeah. One of the songs that I think they play on K-Love or his radio, I know I hate on those stations, but one of those songs, I wouldn't consider it to be a banger, but the subject material, this guy was talking about how it's not a quick thing when you wake up and you decide you don't want to live for God anymore. Like I was saying, that doesn't really happen like that, but it's a slow and quiet thing. And so if you're not staying vigilant, if you're not keeping your eyes on the prize, you might slowly fall into that. I think the song is called Slow Fade for those of you in the chat.
It's a slow fade when you give yourself away. It's a slow
The studio
fade.
audience member is singing along.
Black and white turn to gray. Darkness fades.
The price will be paid
when you give yourself away.
All right. The monitors are like, instead of being green, they're turning orange and red and stuff.
Okay,
I'm so sorry for y'all's ears. Headphone warning, kind of late.
Copyright strike. That's what we about to get.
Oh,
no, I'm playing. You don't actually from singing.
Okay, cool.
All right. What's next on the agenda? Oh, this news story. I guess it doesn't matter how personal it is, because we want to talk about the content.
Let's talk about this picture that's here on the article, though. Hold on. So explain the general concept, but let's talk about the picture right after.
Yeah, because this got cut out of the first podcast.
Yeah.
In this picture, we have what I'm assuming is a priest pouring oil into a bowl of water to anoint a baby's forehead.
He's in them Catholic clothes.
Yes.
And he has a really big bowl.
For baptizing and whatnot. And you know what we think about Catholics. No, I'm playing. If you don't, go back to episode 1. Hear our thoughts about it.
Yeah. If this is your first episode that you've ever watched, we encourage you, even though it might be a little bit more wild, go back and listen to episode 1.
Bad. It's a little whacker.
Listen.
But whacker quality wise.
Okay.
In terms of what we're talking about, it's live. Anyway, I'm gonna just start reading this news story here. North Carolina school. Oh yeah, and I have a reader voice. I'm sorry guys, I can't turn it off. North Carolina school baptizes 100 kids without
let my people go.
Without parental permission, reports. A North Carolina school has come under fire after it reportedly baptized 100 kids without parental permission, according to the Daily Beast. Students at Northwood Temple Academy, a private Christian school in Fayetteville, were baptized last week and left parents shocked and upset, according to Business Insider. My daughter calls me from the school and says, "Mama, can you bring me some dry clothes? I got baptized today," the parent of an 11-year-old told the Fayetteville Observer. I said, what?
In all caps, what? Question mark.
Some parents complained to the school's principal, who said that just a handful of students were scheduled to receive the sacrament, and the others just began to respond to the presence of the Lord, according to the Daily Beast. The principal then sent an email to Fayetteville Observer, which read, "In hindsight, we would do it differently, and give the students an opportunity to contact their parents and ask permission to be baptized. We were not expecting such an overwhelming response to the message that was spoken, but as a mother, I certainly can empathize with why some parents were upset." The principal added that she didn't intend for the sacrament to be a secret from the parents, according to Business Insider. Okay. And this is a story that I've been hearing a few opinions about.
Yes. Elaborate. Or maybe don't.
No, I can.
Okay.
One of the ones I've been hearing probably the most is, you sent your kids to a Christian school and you're upset that they got baptized? How does that make any sense? That's what I've been hearing quite a lot. Or they'll make it into a politics issue where they'll say something like, okay, but think about this.
We love politics.
Yep, my favorite. Kids don't have to ask permission to get birth control. Kids don't have to ask permission to buy, what was it? To get an abortion. Mm-hmm. Kids don't have to ask permission to get hormones or something. A whole bunch of stuff. And I don't know. First of all, I think that's kind of off topic, right? Like, that's not really the point.
Okay.
And two, when you bring those comparisons in, you obviously are saying that you should have to ask permission to do those things. You should have to ask your parents, for some guidance or whatever, if you wanted to go get an abortion or birth control or hormonal changes or something like that.
Right.
My assumption is that you assume you should have to ask for those things. So why would you say, oh, but when it's a baptism, it's not okay to do it without permission? No, it's not. In my personal opinion, it's the same.
Yeah.
Right? If you want one, you have to have both. Yeah, you should have to ask permission in all of these situations because you're a child and you need the authoritative figure to tell you. You know what I mean? I that's okay. Your parents do know more than you in a lot of instances. And I'm not going to be insensitive to everyone's situation. And there are some cases where maybe your parents don't want the best for you, and that's true.
Right.
But even in that, the Bible does tell us to at least respect them, right? Honor them.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't really agree with these people that are saying just accept it because it's a Christian school. So why would you be upset? It's like, yeah, I'm upset. And like, what do you mean?
And then obviously from the article, there's some parents that send their kids there that are like, what? In all caps. So,
yeah.
Mama, can you bring me some dry clothes? Because what? So,
yeah. And it's not because they said, I didn't want my kids to get baptized. I sent them to Christian school for fun. I don't believe in baptizing personally. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think it's more like there are a lot of factors that can go into that. For example, let's say I sent my son to Northwood Temple Academy. Notice how I said son. No hate to all of our
y'all
female
help this
audience,
guy.
but
I'm telling y'all
I just feel like it would be more difficult. It'd be more difficult to have daughters. For those of y'all who are listening, who are parents, maybe, and you have daughters, I'm praying for you and praise the Lord. Thank you.
Okay, last episode we were talking about like future goals, and Isaiah was talking about how he, like, not in any crazy way, but is like excited to be a husband and a father.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, just looking at him, and I'm just making my guesses because he ain't got no kids yet. I'm making my guesses. I think he's gonna have some daughters, bro. And he's gonna be like, oh my gosh, my daughters, I love my daughters. And I know he's gonna love them regardless, but like, nah. What his? All right, carry on. Go ahead. I'm sidetracking, but
I bind that.
Comment if you agree.
I bind that.
Comment if you agree.
No, don't comment that. You should comment, hope you have sons. Anyway, whatever. No hate. or anything, but like, okay, my son is at Northwood Temple Academy, and he says, "Dad, can you bring me back some dry clothes when you come to pick me up from school today?"
Father, can you bring me some dry clothes? What?
I got baptized. Now, for me, I probably wouldn't say, "What?
Okay, scratch
You
that.
got baptized, son." Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I would probably say, "Oh wow, you got baptized. Okay, that's a really important decision you made right there. That's really cool."
Uh-huh.
And then I go to the principal and say, "What? Who told you could do that?" I didn't.
Yeah.
For sure I didn't. What if I wanted to be there? I want to see my kid get baptized. Or maybe I know that my kid doesn't know what baptizing is.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, "Oh, well, I see everybody else getting baptized, and it seems like the right Christian thing to do, so I'm going to go do it."
Right.
And it's like, I know my kid more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think you have any authority to do anything without asking me? You don't. No way. And I'm like, and then I'll hear like people going, "Well, whatever. I wouldn't be mad. I don't care what you would feel. It's my kid. I am allowed to be upset."
That's true. And it's not like in a church where most of the people that are there, or maybe who are getting baptized, it's like fully their choice. They're not feeling obligated or pressured like, "Oh no, my teacher's telling me," or "My principal is like, you need to get baptized," or whatever, and I'm gonna get put in timeout if I don't. So let me, you know what I'm saying, or I'm gonna get detention if I, and I'm not saying that NTA is doing that. I don't.
Right, of course. Yeah,
right,
we don't
but
know,
but when it's a bunch of kids, they're gonna be more impressionable, and so that might pose some dangers in case. Like you were saying, maybe they don't know what baptism is.
Right.
And now they're just getting dunked in some water and they're like, "Cool,"
I did it.
And yeah. And so from my perspective, like first hearing the story, it was pretty cool in some aspects, because I was like, wow, it's not common that you see a lot of people trying to do something for God. It's usually the few. It's usually like two guys somewhere in there. Yeah. Like Shadrach and Meshach and them brothers, when there's this king in the Bible and he was having everybody worship this statue, and if you don't worship the statue, you get thrown in some fire. It was only 3 of them out of this massive group of people that was like, "Nah, we ain't gonna do it." And then they threw them in the fire and they survived and all that. I'll look into it. But anyway, I think it's in Daniel in the Bible.
The book of Daniel.
Daniel. Anyway, my bad. But usually it's the few that are trying to do something for God. But I realize even in that circumstance, I know more than 100 kids got baptized, but it might have still been the few who were actually doing something that meant something to them, because I understand that in an environment like that with so many peers, and I mean, you're surrounded, like not all the kids got baptized, but 100 of them did. So there must have been a bunch of kids in there. And, there's stuff going on. It's like, "Oh, I want to get baptized. Oh, me next." By the time they're on number 56, everybody's raising their hand. They're like, me.
Right, exactly.
Put
kind
me
of
in.
Just the peer pressure.
Right.
Or like it seems like what everybody else is doing, so I might as well.
Right. And that's not a good thing for it to be about.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it is cool for all those who are jumping in like, "Yo, this is my next step. I'm professing my faith. Look, the old man is going down. The new man is right here." You know what I'm saying? I'm saved. I'm born again. But I think it may have a few more, on the technical aspect, a few more negatives than positives. Like that might not be the way to carry on every time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I like the way Northwood Temple or the principal responded, where they said in the future they would just have the kids just ask their parents real quick.
Right.
Because, at least they seem to have an understanding that, regardless of how good you think it is of whatever they're doing, like, let's say, my kid is like, they gave us free ice cream or something. But, I know that my kid has some allergies or something, or I know that my kid he responds poorly to lactose or something, but it's ice cream, so I give him ice cream at home, but I give him lactose free ice cream, so he likes ice cream and he eats all the time, but he doesn't know that there's a difference, and then he just wants to get some ice cream, and it's a good thing, sure, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know, you don't know my kid like I do, so ask me first.
Yes.
Every time. So yeah, if you were one of those parents or one of those people, you know, who read the situation and you thought about it maybe in a different way, maybe leave it in the comments. 1 and 2, be open. You know, I'm not saying you weren't. I'm just saying, you know, it's a good idea to always look at both sides. To always, you know, not like once you have your initial impressions, maybe go back, think about it again, and go, oh, okay, yeah. Like when I was making this point before, I brought up something. I brought up Nike, and flames and burning and Colin Kaepernick, but I'm not going to talk about that here. But you know, in that vein, that's what it makes me think of, where a lot of people had their initial reaction of whatever Colin was doing, right, but that wasn't necessarily what it was.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to run him over because he was talking about something important. But in the comments, be respectful, regardless of your opinion. Be respectful to all, regardless of other people's opinions. Be respectful.
Yeah,
we are not on here trying to start no debates.
No way.
This is not. Oh gosh, yeah. If you need to debate with somebody, go into a text message.
I know.
That way they can block you if they want to.
Or go to
therapy. I'm just kidding.
Go to forensics or something. Go to debate class.
Debate team.
Yeah.
No, but for real,
because even especially if it's like I know. Well, no, I'm not gonna say especially if it's political, because we aren't just about, you know, just one thing only. You know, we can talk about everything, but I guess what Elijah's saying, just be civil,
right?
You know, regardless of if you agree or disagree, don't be emotional about it. You know,
right.
Don't. You know.
Going back to what we talked to before you decide to throw away all self-control, think about the effect it could have on somebody.
Yep.
Maybe their perception of who you are as a Christian or who Christians are as Christians,
right?
Because of you.
Yes.
So just think about it. But love y'all.
Love y'all for sure. All right, that's the end of the first half. Like, you know, in the last podcast, the first podcast, we split these podcasts up into 2 halves.
Yeah.
The first half is a focus mainly on the things of the word and things in a biblical perspective.
Yeah.
And kind of the idea for the second half is that we are young people, we are Christians, right, but we live in the world just as much as everyone else, and everything else, you know, we have opinions on everything, you know, not just the things that are Christian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, it might still be a Christian viewpoint because we are Christians.
Right.
But, you know, I kind of want to focus on some things that are separate, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, we're people too. You know what I mean? We're not like separate or set apart from you guys necessarily.
So, so now if the things that we talk about are kind of Christian sounding, it's because we have chosen to be Christians. It's who we've chosen to be.
What we're talking about is necessarily religious in any way.
Right. Somebody else could talk about the same thing in a completely different way of speaking, but it's yeah.
But what I'm about to talk about is not Christian.
What do you mean by that?
Well, not that it's not Christian, but it's just real more than anything. So what we have in the notes here, and what
real and raw
to share to you guys on the podcast. I've started calling it the pod. I don't know why. Is some of my personal battles and bouts and struggles and conflicts and wars and difficulty.
Yep.
And
stalemates and
stalemates and
conflicts and you said conflicts.
I said conflicts.
Nuclear bombings
and
napalm and
spars, duels.
I see what you're doing here now. You're synonyming.
Synonymizing, right?
I don't know.
Sure,
that sounds great.
Right? I don't know though. With depression and loneliness, some things I was dealing with that maybe I still deal with on the low, but they're not as present in my mind as they were in the past. Not that far in the past, but in the past. But I've decided to share those things with you guys. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Well, first, do you have any questions? Because that makes it easier for me to start. I'm not
Okay,
just
yeah, so
rambling.
it's more pointed.
Yeah.
What is your definition of depression, and then your definition of loneliness
Okay.
in application to what you're saying?
So depression, man, oh man, it's hard for me to describe it because it was like where the way I was raised and the way I've lived my life up to now. Depression is fake. Depression is just you sad. You know what I mean? Depression is equals sadness.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I don't know. I've always known that's not entirely true, but you know, sometimes it'll be like, you know, like I'll tell myself, well, whatever, I'm not depressed. What do you mean? I'm just sad. And usually I'm right. But this time, bro, that was not the case. And then my definition of loneliness is not necessarily not like isolation. That's not loneliness. That's isolation.
Yeah.
Loneliness is where whether you have people around you or not, maybe you feel like you can't talk to them, or maybe you feel like you can't talk to them the way you used to be able to, or the way you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you know, you feel lonely. You feel like, yeah, you feel lonely.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions that might help you get?
Yes. Bro, my voice just did like a
I heard it. The auto
strange.
tune.
Yeah. Oh, that was weird. What caused your thoughts
Depression. My thoughts.
to change on like, okay, this is depression. This is not just being sad.
Okay. Well then, we got to go back to the beginning.
The dark ages.
So,
My bad, Joe.
on July 5th, 2002,
Whoa. Oh, you. I was like, huh?
my mom gave birth to me.
Stop it.
No, I'm playing.
She did for real?
No, she
Oh.
had a C-section.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, that was a joke.
That-
Going back to the real beginning of this issue, it kind of started first semester of college. I went away for the first time, went to college, went to my dorm. I was living life. Elijah's bored. Yawning.
Nah, I just yawned, bro. It's late.
I'm joking.
This guy's a hater.
Living life. And I don't know. I wasn't necessarily
Immersed.
lonely then. Right?
Okay.
Even I didn't have a roommate. I was by myself in my dorm. But
You were actually isolated.
hey, man, those were some of the greatest times ever. I'm not gonna lie. Where I could do whatever I wanted, you know, in my own dorm, in my own space, in my own room,
Who knows what that guy was doing in there?
doing whatever.
Making cooking videos.
No, you know exactly what I was doing in there. Absolutely nothing.
Chilling.
Or homework.
Yeah, that.
But
Wah, wah.
then I visited home. And at the time of visiting, there was some extra situations that were going on in the house that required me to room with my brother. And that may sound cool, but Israel's room, I'm talking about Israel, my brother, not Elijah, who I'm podcasting with here. His room was not super large. And I don't know, it seems silly, but it was like there wasn't really enough room there.
There's not enough room for the two of us.
Right. And what I was thinking was like, there's a room I could be in, but I'm not because of all these things that are happening when I'm not even around.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I start to think in my mind, like, whatever, I was better off back in my dorm. I should just go back to my dorm. I'm not, because it really, like, it felt like we weren't doing anything together as a family anyway,
Mm-hmm.
at least in my mind. So I was like, what's the point in being here? It's not really any different. In fact, it's worse.
Yeah.
And that was my mindset at the time. So I would come home only for breaks. I never visited.
Right.
But I would kind of dread it a little bit. I would be like, I don't want to come home. I had to like write down notes of like I have a list, and I keep a journal. It's not like a journal, like there aren't journal entries. It's kind of just like what a random thought I was thinking
Yeah.
at a time, and I'll just write it and put the date. Like, for example, let's say I had a really good burrito. I'll say that burrito was good, and I'll write that down and put whatever date it was that I had that burrito. So it's basically like that. But I had this long list where I was like, things to look forward to when I like good things to look forward to when I come home. And I had to keep a list because I was like, if I don't start thinking about some good things, I'm gonna start hating it here. And I'm like, it was tough for me to make that list, but I had to. I was like, if I don't make this list, I'm gonna keep letting myself think of home as a negative place.
Yeah.
So that was rough. And then we had our Christmas break, came back for Christmas. Still didn't have a room, but I was used to it at that point, so it was fine.
Okay.
And then, obviously, well, not obvious. If you don't know me, I love getting my brothers and my family just gifts for no reason.
Yeah,
like
I think he turned 18 or 19 and decided to become an uncle. And I'm not talking about because any of his siblings have kids. I'm just saying, like, as a character trait, like, he's Unc now.
Nah,
UNC. Sorry. I didn't even mean to do that, yo. That he goes to UNC. Hold on,
guys. Put in the comments.
Don't do it.
Who you would like on as a guest, and I will definitely do that podcast with them.
Okay,
but no, it was. I just
no
really
hate,
like.
Of course.
I like giving my brothers gifts that maybe if they asked mom or dad wouldn't get them. Not because they didn't want to get it to them, but I don't have bills. My parents do. So it's like they can't just get you whatever because they got bills to pay. I don't. So I can get you whatever. And I did. And I do. And I still will if I'm able.
Cause I still will if I kill Bill, huh?
I
bet you.
I just like it, bro. I don't know. It's cool to see him happy.
And we appreciate
getting
it.
That cool stuff. Elijah, though.
Stop it.
This is a sidebar, but maybe it's part of my depression. No, I'm joking. But I got Elijah these shoes, these Jordans, these iridescent, glow in the sun, reflective Jordan 1s. And he wore them like 3 times, destroyed them, scuffed them, creased them, and then rubbed them outside on concrete to make them ugly. At least that's what I think happened. Has to have happened.
Okay, y'all, listen up. I wore them, I think, like 10 times.
Okay, well.
Yeah. But now, in my defense, they're not everyday shoes. I know some of y'all who are,
They're over there.
Oh. Yeah, so some of y'all who may be fortunate enough to have like a bunch of different pairs of shoes. There might be one pair of shoes like you bring out, you know what I'm saying? You bring them out every now and then. Now, also, bro, they are creased. Yes, that's because, man, they're difficult to walk in without creasing them, man. It is a talent that I'm still acquiring. But anyway, they're not that destroyed. I did actually try to take care of them because even regardless of like, oh, it's hard to wear these with this outfit and stuff like that, I was like, bro, these shoes, like they costed this dude a big buck. Obviously, they mean something. And even if he got me some shoes that I straight up didn't like, I'd appreciate them because it's more than. I know people say, oh, it's the thought that counts as an excuse, but like, nah, that thought counted, and it still does count. And that's why I was saying we appreciate it, and that's how we started this whole sidebar. But yeah,
never again.
Yes, so
that's all.
There's a deep cut running joke of sadness that he talks about. I'm never buying Elijah Christmas presents ever again.
Not shoes. No way.
Yeah.
Or at least not $200 shoes. I'll get Elijah some
flip flops,
some
sandals,
some FUBU.
Ooh.
I don't know what Elijah just did to me.
I was trying to mouth a phrase to him. I said, what about the FUBU wearers in the chat? Y'all who are in there.
What about the FUBU words in the chat? There's nothing wrong with FUBU. It's just cheaper. That's all. That was my main point. I'm just not spending a whole bunch of money on your gift anymore because I need you to take care of it.
I got you.
You can rock FUBU, whatever.
For us, by us. I hate this guy. When I tell you,
planned.
He would be reaching into my mind and stealing my jokes and then say I stole them from him.
I was born first.
That is such a
They're
cheap
my
excuse.
jokes. It's true.
Leave in the comments who you think is right and don't say Isaiah. Thanks. So anyway, back to your point. You were talking about getting Christmas gifts.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to do that sidebar because it only gets worse from here.
Okay.
It gets heavier. So we'll go into it. So yeah, I enjoy getting them gifts. I get Elijah cards that say "love you" on them.
He's tripping,
and that's it.
He's tripping,
and that was okay. We had the new year, whatever. Then I went back to my dorm, and I had a roommate this time, and I did not like him. I didn't
Shout
like
out
my
to
roommate. Nope.
I actually don't remember. I do now remember his name,
but we're not gonna say it.
But we won't
because it's irrelevant, and it's kind of rude to talk about someone rudely and then say this is who they are.
Yeah,
and search them up. No,
this is their address and
right. No, but I didn't really like him that much. He was a light sleeper, but like he would sleep till like 4 PM. And it was just like, how are you a light sleeper and sleep till 4 PM? Well, I can tell you how. He would stay out all night and then come back at like 5 AM and be like super drunk. He wasn't like obnoxious with it though. He would just go to sleep, which I appreciated. But it was like, obviously you're not going to wake up early if you're staying out all night getting intoxicated.
Yeah.
So
fair point.
I didn't like him. So then it was like, man, I want to go home so bad. And so I'm taking classes. Obviously, I'm at school. So I'm taking classes. Mind you, these classes are not even classes that were part of my major, which is computer science. They were just waste classes so that I could get my financial aid. Because if I wasn't full time, I would be broke right now.
This Isaiah's a tactical genius.
Okay. So I had to be full time. So I was taking whatever courses I could take. And I was just struggling in my brain. I was like, I felt down. I was like, I'm not taking any of the courses I need to be taking to get my degree. So what am I doing here at school? I am wasting my time. And I think that thought was like, started to permeate my work, where it was like, why try? You know, this class doesn't mean anything for my major anyway. So I started to fail in my courses a lot. There was one class I was taking, this statistics class, and I just pretended like I didn't have it. I didn't go to class. I didn't do the work. I didn't do any homework.
This guy's not a tactical genius.
I didn't go to any tests. I didn't. And then later I had to go to the advisor and say, hey, I'm switching my major to comp sci BA instead of BS. And then as a result, I could drop out, not drop out, but I could withdraw from that stats class, which means that it won't go on my record.
Yeah.
Not withdraw, I failed it. So it won't go on my record as a GPA anything. It's just you failed that class.
Yeah.
And that was good because I needed to preserve my GPA. At least that's what I was thinking at the time. And I'm failing these classes, and I'm trying, and I hate it going to my dorm because I had the roommate, so it'd be like I had to stay out. My car wasn't working at that time, so I couldn't just visit anytime I wanted. So if I wanted to leave my dorm, I couldn't really. I'd have to call ahead, and that was kind of annoying. And then we get this email, everybody in comp sci, where they say, guys, too many people want to be in comp sci. So what we've decided to do is to drop everybody out of comp sci that was in comp sci, computer science. It's shortened for comp sci, and you will now be undecided. You don't have a degree. You don't have a major.
Those guys at UNC, not tactical geniuses.
And so they had changed everything, changed the whole major, said if you don't have X and Y and Z classes, then might as well go find something else to do. And I didn't have those classes, and it really wasn't of any fault of my own. The first time I couldn't get in because they like literally ran out of space. There was like 100 seats in one class, just one section of that class, and if you didn't get into one of those 100 students, you're not. And this is at a university, so 100 students isn't like, oh, okay, that's a lot. No, it's not. You don't get to be in your major at all. You don't get to start your major because that course is what you need. And if you don't get in that one time, then it doesn't work.
They in there playing musical chairs.
Second time, the second semester, I tried to get into 210, which is what the course I needed to comp 210. And I tried to get into it, and they said, oh, well, you need 110 to get into 210, which is another class. And I was like, what? I don't have a 110 credit? Because I was looking on my sheet, and they never mentioned that you would need 110 in order to take 210.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, why would they not bring this up? And why am I not prepared for this already? Right? So then later we're like, me and my mom are working through, we're emailing them, trying to figure it out. Suddenly they're like, oh, here it is. This transfer credit actually is 110 that they knew about already. And I was like, oh, man. Okay, so I do have 110, so I can take 210. They're like, yep. Okay, nice. You got the prereq. So I was like, okay, awesome. So can I take 210? No. It's too late. We can't let you in. Yeah, sorry. So just imagine how I'm feeling, where I'm like, all this is, what can I do about it? And I just felt like I was wasting my time so much. And my motivation was at the lowest I think it's ever been. And I think once I got that email and all that, sobbing, bro. I was crying. I really was. And it was just like, and not like, tears. It was just like the real crying, man. The boo-hooing. Where I was like, what is going on? Why is nothing happening correctly?
Right. Feeling helpless. Hopeless.
Right. And it was horrible. And so I'm taking all these other classes, failing them still, but whatever, taking them, not doing well in them, and just kind of waiting, hoping for the semester to end so I could go home and not think about it. I'm applying to different schools. I was going to UNC, and I'm like, you know what? UNC is not working right now. They're saying that you have to apply to get into the comp sci program, and I don't think I'm going to get in. So let me just start opening up my options and going to different schools so that I can get a degree from somewhere.
Yeah.
So then the semester finally ends. I get to come home. It's summer break. And I'm like, yes, summer break. A break. I needed one. Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking. And for a while, it was kind of chill the first few weeks. I was just getting situated to living back here, getting my room situated, going back to church in person as opposed to watching the live stream and all that.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then I was like, okay, they're offering 210 in the summer, but apparently you can't take 210 until you've been admitted into the program. But they let me in. I don't know why, but they let me into the program. I mean, into the class, not the program. And then later, before I even started the class, I get an email. Well, I didn't get the email. They had sent out the acceptance or rejection for the program, And I found mine. It was acceptance, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But it was in my spam folder.
Spam, yes.
And that was just like the epitome of this sucks.
The cherry on the bottom.
Right? Where I was like, good job, guys. I'm so glad this is where we've come to.
Right.
It's in my spam. My future, essentially, is in my spam email.
Yeah.
Just annoying. And then I start taking this class over the summer. And I mean, while I was taking this course, during what was supposed to be a break, a summer break, after a year of failure, a year of nothing happening correctly, a year of time wasted in my mind, I'm taking this course. Instead of enjoying my summer with my brothers, instead of enjoying summer with my family, I'm still doing school. I'm still going to class. I'm still driving. No, not even still driving. Now I have to drive up to school 2 hours away to go to one class every other day. And all I could think was, this sucks. That was the only thing running through my mind. Nothing good, nothing like, oh, at least I get this course. At least I finally am allowed to take 210. No, all I was thinking was this was miserable. And because of that, because of me thinking that, because of me wanting there to be something else, me wanting to have a summer and to enjoy it with my family, I was just so upset. I was so unhappy. And I called it unhappy because I didn't want to call it depressed. And I was saying that over and over. I'm just unhappy.
Okay.
And realizing, like, okay, maybe I'm sad. Sure, you can be sad. But I'm sad every day. I'm just generally just thinking incredibly negatively every day. Like, I'm not just sad. There's something else.
Right.
And I was definitely depressed. I was like, wishing that I didn't have to do all the things I was doing. I almost said wishing it was over, but that sounds a little crazy.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean.
So where in your personal experience would you draw the specific line? Like, how could you tell it wasn't just being sad every day? It's like, nah, this is something else.
I mean, that's the line. I'm not sad every day.
Yeah.
So why am I sad every day?
Yeah. Okay. And every thought is negative and everything seems...
I don't even have class one day, but I'm still upset. So then that...
So that's not a mindset that you really get into in one day or because of one event, or get out of in one day or because of one event.
Yeah. So that's what I was going through. And so as a result of my mind state, I started to do poorly in that class as well over the summer.
Yeah.
And while you can tell that that's why, in hindsight, it just really just felt like everything was just worse. Everything was terrible. And I was doing poorly in the class. I was failing it, if I'm being completely 100% honest. I was failing the course. And that obviously didn't help with my mental state. So I'm just in this slump. This just the worst I've felt, I think, ever.
Yeah.
And at the end of the class, I take the final. I studied super hard for the final, trying to, go over everything I could possibly go over. I was studying with my friend Luis. Shout out Luis. Again. That's just, I talk about him a lot, but it's just because he's a real one. That's all.
On and off the podcast, he talks about him a good bit. Hey, Luis, if you're listening.
Real one. You got to meet my fam eventually.
I was just going to say, I got to meet him one day.
If you're listening. But, yeah, so I was studying with him, and I really wanted to do well. So I was like, I took it. I was like, okay, let's wait for the final to get graded, all the assignments, and, get my final grade.
Mm-hmm.
I get my final grade.
Drum roll.
And guess what? I got a 53.
Sad trumpet.
Failed it.
Yeah.
Completely. The whole course. And
It's rough.
it was just like, just the feeling I had was just, no way, Isaiah. No way you failed again. No way you have everything going for you. You go to college for free, essentially. You don't have any loans. And instead of taking advantage of that, instead of wanting to do well, instead of, performing the way you should be performing, instead you're failing. What? Because you're sad? Because you're a little bit upset? And that's what I'm thinking. So not only am I depressed, I'm mad at myself because I'm depressed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why am I depressed? What? You wouldn't be so depressed if you were doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like,
it kind of don't work that way.
That's not. It's both are true. Where it's like I would be doing well if I wasn't depressed, maybe.
Right.
And so that's just where I was at in my mind, where I'm like, I cannot believe I allowed myself to fail again. So at that point, I was like, whatever, I was over it. I was like, whatever. I failed the course, whatever. It's over at least. And I think kind of going off of that, also what was making it just the worst is that I would be done with courses. I drive up to UNC, do my one class, come home, and do nothing because we weren't doing anything as a family.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we would usually do over a summer were prohibited to us, or some people might have been on punishment. So we weren't allowed to do certain things. Like, for example, I wanted to play video games.
Right.
And you may be saying, you can play video games by yourself. Yeah. But my whole life, I played video games with my brothers. So playing video games isn't playing video games by myself.
Yeah.
That's not playing video games in the way that I see it.
By itself, it ain't the same thing.
It's not the same at all.
True.
And I wanted to play with, mainly I play with Elijah a lot. Israel isn't really a gamer like that. I'm about to start getting good at Street Fighter because that's the only game he plays. So I'm going to start getting good. So
it ain't worth it.
I'll start getting good at that game. But I wanted to play with Elijah.
Yeah.
But Elijah was on punishment.
So quick explanation of that. So I think this was my sophomore second semester. It was my English class. Most of my other classes, they weren't bad. Like, actually, okay, so the majority of them being 3 were A's, and then there were 2 grades that were not A's out of the 5. And one of them was B, and it was an okay B. The other one was, I think it was also a B, but it was the English class. And what happened was, the first quarter was good, second quarter was good, third quarter was all right, fourth quarter I was like putting that class last out of the classes that I had, but I wasn't putting that much at all. I was like, all right, school's over, summer's, and that last grade was bad. And so it kind of brought it down real low. And my mom, being my mom, she doesn't teach anymore, but my whole life she's been an English teacher. And so I think this is just the way that she thinks. But she's like, all right, I'm going to make this dude read these 3 specific books about like people working hard and being successful and, picking themselves up by their bootstraps. And I think that's a phrase. But so anyway, she's like, okay, listen, you got to read these 3 books over the summer, and you have to do these assignments about it, like report. I'm not going to go into what the assignments were. They're kind of crazy. But anyway, until you do those things, you can't do your regular summer stuff. And then on top of that, because Israel was doing this work thing that he was going to do to save up money for college, and then Isaiah's going to this class every other day, they're like, well, you need to be busy too, since it's not like you're going to be hanging around with them. And so they had me doing like the random housework, just like working on the house, different stuff, and getting paid here and there, which was cool. But anyway, those are all the reasons. Like the normal summer stuff was just almost impossible to get together. Like too much was going on we're all in different directions, even though we're sleeping in the same house. It's just not, it's not the same type of structure as it had been for every year prior.
Right. And I think that was just kind of getting to me a lot. And, you know, what made it worse was like, it was difficult to tell anybody or to tell myself, you know, I want to play video games and I'm sad because I can't. And it's like, really? Video games?
Right.
Grow up. You can't play some video games. Oh no. But it meant more than just video games. It signified more than that. It was because that was what summer was, you know, or that was what, you know, a lot of the things that we did together, we played video games together. You know, that was like our group activity, which is fine, you know.
Yeah.
And I like playing video games, and we've been playing video games since we were children.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Elijah's still a child, but since I was a child. And so it's like, you know, that's just what is fun. You know what I mean? That's just what I wanted to do. But it felt so stupid telling or saying that I was sad that I couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. So even to myself. So then I was beating myself up for feeling bad that I couldn't play video games. So I'm like, oh, it's just video games and you're this upset about it? You know, I mean,
it wasn't just, you know, but it was all the stuff that goes into it. But the video games is like the physical activity, I guess, of it.
Right. The physical activity was playing video games. But really what I was upset about was that we weren't spending time together at all or doing anything.
Yeah.
Or doing a lot of the things that I was maybe looking forward to doing when I came back from the dorm.
Right.
You know? So then that's what I was upset about. But explaining it to myself and trying to talk to anyone else about it, it just sounded stupid. Where I'm like, I wish I could play video games, but I can't. And I'm so sad about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was more than that. And I don't know. It was, to this day, I still, and in my journal, one of my thoughts I had with the date and whatever is, this is the worst summer I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I won't say that my opinion on that has changed at all. I do think that it was probably the worst summer ever. The worst time, the worst just experience. And really it was just sad because I guess I wasn't ready in my mind for everything to be different. I thought it would be like, okay, at least now I'm done with school. I'm finally done with this miserable existence that I was having in my dorm. And I can finally come home and be with my family and do all the things that we like to do. And when I realized that even when I'm home, I can't do any of those things, I think that just pushed it over the edge where I'm like, I was just incredibly miserable. But you know, that wasn't forever, obviously.
Yeah.
I went, you know, we had a little vacation at the end of summer where we were, you know, we did all the things we were supposed to do. It was a lot shorter than the whole summer.
Yeah.
It was like maybe 2 or 3 days, but it was much needed where, you know, we're doing something that we're supposed to be doing, at least in my mind, what summer should be, what summer has always been, what it's always been about. We finally did those things. And
right.
It was, I'm glad we had that little vacation. I really was. That's in my notes too. That's in my journal as well. There are a lot of stuff in there, you know. I won't share all of it, but maybe, who knows? Maybe one day.
That notes page is a dangerous place. I mean,
treacherous,
unsafe,
perilous.
treacherous, yeah, perilous place, ticklish, that kind of place.
But yeah, that little vacation was really good for my brain. And then I went back to school. I moved by myself because it was a Sunday, so there was church service, so I had to move alone. But that was fine, you know, whatever. So I moved up, and you know, I didn't mention this because it's important, but I moved up, right? And then my teacher got in contact with me, the teacher of the summer class that I was taking that I failed, got a 53. And she said, hey, I know that you were driving 2 hours just to get to class. I know you couldn't make it to office hours. So I want to work with you to get the grade that you need. And, nobody told her to do that. So, maybe the Lord when I was praying. Because that was for sure an answered prayer. Where it was like just the most ridiculous, honestly. It's like, no way you're going to let me do all this work after the fact just to get the grade. No way. And obviously it wasn't like, I feel bad for you, here's your grade. Still had to do every assignment over again. Yeah. But it was fine. I was glad I had the opportunity. I put so much effort into it. Right. I was remotivated. I was rejuvenated. And I was like, this is my chance, my second chance to not be a failure. So I can finally do it right. And I did. And I got my grade. And I think that was really good. It helped me a lot with, even after accepting everything, I was still able to kind of rectify some of the things that happened. Yeah. So it was just like, yes, finally, something has gone right. And I think after that, I just had to change. Because if I'm being honest, not a lot has changed in terms of my situation. But my mindset has changed. So now I'm not depressed anymore. And I don't feel lonely. I also have my car, so I can visit anytime I want. And that doesn't mean I have to visit to not feel lonely, but maybe just knowing that I could come if I wanted to is just helpful in itself. But,
for the listeners, he's here from school right now.
I'm only here because I tried to do something before and it didn't work, so I had to come down here to make sure it works.
Yes. For you guys, for the listeners, for the podcast, for the ministry.
So, just, had to switch my mindset, had to, there are some things I had to accept, like summer as I know it is over forever. And as sad as that is, at least now, I know it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I know what to expect from a summer break now. And yeah. That's kind of what I was dealing with, some of the things I was going through, but it's better now. And yeah, I guess that's the end of that.
Okay, I got you. Yo, he hates when I say that. When I say I got you,
because he doesn't say that to me.
I do.
You've never said I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Help me.
I got you. Never, bro. What in the world?
I don't know. It's natural.
Nah.
It is. Okay. Where do you want to go from here? Do you have questions, more comments?
I don't know. I guess we could go into closing thoughts, unless you have anything that you relate to like this. Like, I remember you had that one time in Yorktown, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I will. Okay. I will. I'm not sure. I won't talk for long because I know this episode is running pretty long.
It is. It's true. Remember that song at the beginning, y'all?
Fire. I know y'all want more, but it's too bad because every intro is going to be different.
Live podcast.
Anyway, gosh, 2 hours and 7 minutes, 44 seconds.
Wow.
We're still gonna get into this for a second, though.
It's a long pod.
If y'all don't want to hear this, you can skip. Yeah. So my experience with depression and loneliness, I think, was for a similar length of time. That Isaiah was talking about. Maybe it was just for about like a few months or but this was a long time ago. This was when I think I was like 11 or 12 years old. No, 11 years old, and then still continuing when I was 12. But yeah, so this was when we were still living in Virginia before we moved to North Carolina. And basically, I just was at a point in my life where I had decided to split off from the usual, what I was used to, kind of like the prodigal son in the Bible. He had things great at home from what you can assume. And I know my own life. I did have things great at home. I have a great family, loving family. Yep. They interact, provide. They're saved. I'm glad they always made us go to church, even if I didn't always want to go. But I was at a point in my life where I was like, okay, they've been making me go to church my whole life. It wasn't really my decision. They can't make me choose to like God or the idea of it. And I think I'm going to explore, because the things on the outside are looking pretty good. I don't like this salad no more. I'm trying to go and look at some chicken. Now, before I make that analogy, I mean, I already made the analogy, but I know that chicken is like indescribably better than salad. So it ain't like that. I'm just talking about the level of appeal to chicken rather than salad. But anyways, I decided to just go and explore, see what I can do, see what I can get into with what you trying to get into. Yes. Seeing what different things I can get into with people at school, what kind of connections I can make. Big thing for me, I remember, was when I would start opening up more in school, being more active, talking more about stuff. Sometimes I wasn't being fully honest. I would be like just putting on a show, being all extra, attracting all kinds of attention for the want of the attention, kind of like Satanism, but just being self-serving, letting loose on all self-control just for the attention of people. And I remember one of the biggest things for me was whenever I started getting invited to everything. They're like, "Oh, Elijah, you got to come to this," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's me. I'm that dude." And I was excited for this stuff. I was like, finally, some not boring stuff. I don't want to just be in church with all the same people and talking about God every week, and they don't know nothing about God. They're just here because they don't have anything better to do. They're not like me, They don't got all the friends in the world. And anyway, so I'm doing that. I'm trying to get affections from women. From girls. I said, okay, yeah, we talked about this before. I said women, and he said girls again. That's interesting that happened, but just trying to have all these different relationships and hoping to have fun and all that, and it put me in some weird situations. I remember I would lie to my parents about going to one place, and I mean, the people taking me there will be in on it. They'll be like, my parents, sometimes they wouldn't trust who I was riding with unless they spoke with them. And some of the rides would be like, "Oh, yeah, we're going to go do this and blah, blah, blah." And we get in the car and then we're like, "Oh, well, here we go. You ready to have some fun?" By the way, y'all, if you are not a parent yet and you're planning to be that enabling parent, that's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to let my kid do all these dangerous things because they need to have fun." Treacherous, unsafe, ticklish things. Stop. Some parents like that, I'm not gonna lie, are some of the worst parents. You put your kids in some strange situations. We have boundaries on purpose, and sometimes your kids ain't as smart as they think they are. For me, like
factual.
And so, yeah, I was just trying to go and do whatever, and I got in some weird situations. I'll be at people's houses, and everybody, like, I mean, from anywhere from 12 to 25 up in there smoking, drinking, acting crazy, bumping crazy music and stuff. And I remember I didn't even really like it. I was like, and so I would go to one scene and then go hang out with somebody else and just seeking like, oh, maybe I'll enjoy it this time. Usually it wasn't the greatest. But like the prodigal son in the Bible, he leaves what all that he had because he thought he saw some kind of appeal. But after a while, it left him in a pig pen, in a pigsty with these pigs, all by himself and lacking direction. He was hungry, and he's like, well, man, where did I go wrong? And so I kind of found myself in that place because the problem was in making all those decisions and telling a lot of lies and going back and forth between two different sides that I wanted to portray, whether it be to my family or to my friends or the people in church. I ended up making myself very alone because I wasn't being honest with anybody, and God included. I wouldn't talk to God about anything. Prayer was not a thing for me. And so I was like, man, not only am I not happy, but I can't really talk to anybody about it because this is my own decisions that I'm facing right now. And this is in the 12-year-old brain. And so I didn't even understand some of it until like later on. But all I knew is that I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling real bad. I should be in big trouble. I'm unhappy. These people who are calling me friend, I know if I was to leave and go somewhere, they wouldn't even remember me after. And so it was just a real bad place. I was like, I didn't believe in myself as a person. I didn't like who I was because who I was never on either side, whether I was pretending to be Christian or pretending to be cool. In school, I was neither of those things. And so I was like, I'm nobody. I don't really mean anything. And clearly it's that way because these people aren't really seeing through this disguise that I'm putting up. So there must have been nothing substantial on the inside the whole time. And so just wallowing in all of my dumb decisions and the circumstances that those decisions put me in. And but it was different from just being sad for one day, because it was kind of all the time I was feeling trapped and I didn't really know what the answer was. And we moved to North Carolina, and this went on for a while, for a few months, especially going back into school and everything. That's where some of the stuff got the worst. But I remember it was coming to the end of the first year that we were here. I was like, I'm going to look at God in a new light. I'm going to try to seek God. And so it's like that prodigal son going back to his father's house, not really knowing what to expect. But he's like, man, I remember how things were when I was there, and except it was even different from that because I had never really looked at God the way that I should. I would say I believed in God, and I kind of would, but there was no real dependence on him in my lifestyle. I wouldn't pray ever. I wouldn't read ever. Denying myself was kind of something I did when people told me to, and so it just opened the door for me to really actually have a relationship with God and begin to grow and change. And so I was worked out of that place in my mind just by all these new experiences and things that, like, I would hear old Bible verses or Bible verses that I'd been hearing my whole life that I didn't think were worth anything. And now I'm hearing them again and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Something, it makes sense. And so I was drawn out of that place of in my mind, and it really did help me. Life is very different. My relationship with my brothers actually, I don't know. Yeah. So like when we were little, obviously there's no problems there. But then during that season of me being like 11, 12 into 13, it was like not good. But now there's the understanding of all of that and knowing that like we are together now, or we were in those summers. It really was deeper to me. I was like, man, this is the way that it's supposed to be. And I was really glad. I still appreciate my brothers greatly to this day in a way that I don't think I would have had I not decided to do all that stuff. And so in that sense, I am grateful. But yeah, that's pretty much all.
Yep. Cool. I guess that marks the end of the podcast right now. If you made it this far,
props.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Put battery in the comment. Just the word battery. Just somewhere in your comment, mention battery, so we know that you are a real one who listened to the whole thing.
Okay, I got you. I was like, what do you mean by that?
Because no one else they're going to be like, why is everybody saying battery? Oh, that means they fake.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all the real ones.
All the people talking about battery.
I know.
We love you. Thank you. We love everybody else, but not like this.
Yeah, and we really appreciate everyone listening and everything. Please Tell us what you want to hear in another podcast, in the next one, or tell us who you want to hear on the next podcast. And because we want to know. That's all.
And especially if you have topics, you don't have to be a Christian, and you don't have to be not a Christian to make suggestions. If you want to, I want to hear you talk about some things might fit in the first half, and some things might fit in the second half. That's why we have both, is so we can cover all these different types of topics that people want to hear, but we can have some pretty great conversations going off of the things you guys suggest. I don't think it'll be me on the next episode. By the way, I think Isaiah will be hosting like all of them from here on out. More on that later.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, tell us who you want to see, what kind of questions you want answered.
Right.
All that different type of stuff, man.
Definitely. And yeah, with that, thank you so much for listening this far. I know this is definitely a longer episode. Maybe now, we kind of know how many topics can make up this length. So we can go shorter next time. Ooh. Or we could just keep it as long.
Yeah.
Let us know. How would we know unless you tell us?
Be in them comments, y'all.
Please. But yeah. Thank you for listening. And this has been episode 2. And we'll see you in the next one.